For man to be saved, we must understand God's plan of salvation during that person's lifetime in history. And we call these God designated time periods dispensations. For example, the plan of salvation for King David was not the same, of course, as it is for the disciples or for you and I today. Have you ever wondered how God's plan have unfolded over time? How each chapter in human history, he reveals a bit more of his purpose for us? Well, in this video, we're going to explore the dispensations of time, or those eras that God's hand is guiding us, leading us closer to his desire for us to get closer to him. Stay with me as we walk together through 7 amazing stages from the beginning of creation all the way through the kingdom age when peace finally reigns forever. Let's dive in and see how each of these brings us closer to understanding God's ultimate plan. God has shown us his plans step by step over time, starting from creation and going all the way through the final judgment. The Bible shows 7 different eras that we call dispensations, where God reveals more about himself and how people should live. These eras are innocence, conscience, human government, promise, law, grace, and the kingdom age. The word dispensation means stewardship, like how we manage things. It is a specific period of time during which God tests humanity's obedience to his revealed will. Each dispensation shows a time when God gave people new responsibilities and newer ways to understand him. Just like as a child grows and gets more responsibilities, God has given humanity and us more understanding and more guidance in each age. Each dispensation has a plan of salvation and also ends in judgment. Let's talk about the first dispensation, innocence. Genesis chapter 2, verse 25. The first era of innocence begins when Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden. Here, everything was perfect. They lived without sin and had close fellowship with God. Their main responsibilities were to care for the garden and obey God by not eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But when they disobeyed, sin entered the world and they had to leave the garden. The second dispensation is conscience, and that is found in Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. After Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, their conscience, or an inner sense of right and wrong, was awakened. Now they had to follow their conscience and seek God through sacrifices and prayer. Sadly, many people chose not to follow this plan and sin spread. Only a few, like Abel, Enoch, and Noah, remained faithful, so God sent a flood to cleanse the earth. The third dispensation, human government. Genesis chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. After the flood, God allowed people to form governments to keep order and justice. He gave new guidelines. Animals would fear humans. Humans could eat animals. And if someone took another's life, there would be punishment. Despite these rules, people still failed to obey God. Instead of spreading out as he asked, they tried to build the Tower of Babel. So God confused their language to make them scatter. Dispensation number 4, promise. Next, God focused on one man, Abraham, and made him promises. Abraham's descendants were to be a special people through whom God would bless the entire world. God promised Abraham land, descendants, and blessings as long as he trusted and obeyed God. But when a famine hit, Abraham's descendants ended up in Egypt, where they became slaves. God later used Moses to lead them back to the promised land. Next dispensation, number 5, law. Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. Through Moses, God gave the Israelites the 10 Commandments and many other laws. These laws showed people how to live and please God. The law also made people realize how often they fell short. This dispensation lasted until Jesus came, who perfectly fulfilled the law and brought us a new way. Into dispensation number 6, grace. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 through 9. When Jesus came, he brought the era of grace. Jesus died on the cross, offering salvation to everyone who believes. We don't need to follow the law to earn God's love. Instead, we're saved by faith in Jesus and his sacrifice. This era focuses on God's amazing gift of grace, giving life and hope to all who believe. The final dispensation, kingdom age, number 7, in Revelations chapter 20, verse 4. The kingdom age is a future era when Jesus will return to rule on earth for 1,000 years. During this time, peace and justice will prevail, and those who've been faithful will reign with him. After this era, God will make everything new and eternity will begin. Those who follow God's plan in each dispensation will enjoy the joy and peace of eternal life with him. Now, through each dispensation, we've seen God's faithfulness and love guiding humanity step by step. But what happens when humanity makes its first tragic choice? One that forever changes our connection with God. In the next video, we're going to uncover how Adam and Eve, created in innocence, dispensation number 1, we were tempted and ultimately disobeyed God. We'll see how the single act affected every part of their being, their spirit, their soul, and their body, and broke the beautiful communion they had with their Creator. Join me as we dive into the story of humanity's first fall and the beginning of God's ultimate plan to redeem us.